Greetings, boys and girls. Today I have my trusty toolbox, okay, and I wanted to pull this out because what I love about the toolbox is I have quite a few tools. I have my hammer, which is great for doing some things, hammering a nail in the wall. I have my flathead screwdriver and my Phillips head screwdriver. I have wrenches. I have different tools in here. And the same way that I have tools in this toolbox and they each serve a purpose, with multiplication, I also have a toolbox, okay? And inside of my multiplication toolbox, I have quite a few tools, like skip counting, making an array. Today, we're going to talk about 3 new tools that we're adding to our multiplication toolbox. The first is going to be the distributive property. Right here, I have a box of Archer Farms pumpkin pie spice scones that I want to make. And I'm trying to make them for all the 4th graders. So I'm going to need quite a few eggs. Okay, I have right here 1 dozen eggs, but I'm actually going to need 5 times as many. I'm going to need 5 dozen eggs to make enough scones for all of the 4th graders. Now, if I do not know 5 times 12 in my head, I can use the distributive property to see what that would actually be. So right here, as you can see, I have drawn an array of 5 going down, 12 going across. And I'm looking at 5 times 12. Now what the distributive property says is I can take this array and I can break it up wherever I want to, and I can look at the product of one and add that to the product of the other. Ooh, I said product. Remember what product is? Answer to a multiplication problem. So I decided that I wanted to break my array up so that instead of looking at 5 times 12, I can look at that 12 as 6 plus 6. And now I'm looking at 5 times the quantity of 6 plus 6. So look, I have my 5 by 6 array here, and I have another 5 by 6 array. And then, as I get to the next row, I'm just breaking this down. I'm distributing this 5. So now I have 5 times 6 plus 5 times this 6. And this is what I rewrote down here. 5 times 6 plus 5 times 6. I can see my arrays. Now the next step is fairly simple. I think to myself, what's 5 times 6? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 30 plus 5 times 6, which is also 30, and 30 plus 30 equals 60. Therefore, using the distributive property, 5 times 12 equals 60. I'm going to give you a moment to go ahead and jot this down on your video accountability sheet. So now that we have our scones out the way, we're going to now make a super exciting recipe. Almond butter brownies. So excited about this. I mean, I have been looking forward to these all week. And again, I'm talking about making them for these 4th graders. And when I'm thinking about making them, I know I'm going to need quite a few eggs. Each batch actually calls for a baker's dozen of eggs. Now, when I think baker's dozen, I know that that is actually 13 eggs. Why they call it a baker's dozen? I have no idea. Maybe it's because bakers may accidentally break an egg that they needed and can't use it. Or maybe it's because bakers just have a tendency to put more stuff in than they really need. Whatever the case, I'm going to need 13 for each baker's dozen, and I'm going to need a total of 3 batches of these to make enough for everybody. So now I'm looking at the multiplication problem of 3 times 13. This is my baker's dozen, and 3 is the number of batches I'm going to need. So with my array, I am going to break it up. Now, I like breaking things up because I'm looking at the 13 and I see 10s and 1s. I'm just going to break it up right here. Okay? So I will break it up so that I have that 13 is now 10 and 3. So now I'm looking at 3 times 10 plus 3. And right here I see one array is a 3 by 10. my other array is a 3 by 3. I literally just broke this up right here. Sliced it, put this part on that side, and then the other part here. Now with the distributive property, when I see this 3 times 3, I'm now going to distribute this 3. So that's 3 times 10 plus 3 times 3. And that's what I wrote on this row. 3 times 10 plus 3 times 3. And at this point, I simply just find the product of each of these. 3 times 10 is 30, plus 3 times 3 is 9. So 30 plus 9 would be 39. When I look right here, if I wasn't for certain, I can think, a 3 by 10 array, this would be 30. A 3 by 3 array would be 9. Add that together and that's 39. So it shows the same thing. Now looking at how I did this problem, notice I broke this up. I just happened to do 10 and 3, but this is place value. If I thought about the expanded form of 13, it would be 10 plus 3. So this goes to our second tool in our toolbox. We are using the distributive property with expanded form, or distributive property with place value. That's all I did. I didn't just randomly break up 13 as like 6 plus 7 or 5 plus 8, but I broke it up based on its place value of 10 plus 3. Boys and girls, I'm going to give you a moment to go ahead and transfer this content onto your accountability sheet. Each of these boxes has 127 noodles that are dry. And so to feed 72, I'm going to need like 8 boxes. And they're still not even going to get that much food. But I'm going to start with my 8 boxes. So now I'm trying to think, how many pasta noodles am I going to have in all? To solve this, I'm going to need to multiply 127 times 8. Well, 127 times 8 is the same exact thing as 8 times 127. And this is similar to the problems we were just looking at. So this time, just like I told you about that second tool, our distributive property with expanded form or distributive property using place value, I am now going to multiply this. I'm not going to make an array because who really wants to make an array that's 8 by 127? I know, that would be too much. Okay, so I'm going to use expanded form to break this 127 up. So now I'm looking at 8 times the quantity, 100 plus 20 plus 7. This 100 plus 20 plus 7 is 127 in expanded form. And what I'm going to now do is I'm going to distribute that 8 to the 100. So I'm thinking 8 times 100 plus 8 times 20 plus 8 times 7. I know it kind of looks like a lot of arrows, but I want us to get the idea here. So now, this is simply written inside the parentheses. 8 times 100 plus 8 times 20 plus 8 times 7. And when I get ready to figure that out, 8 times 100 would be 800. 8 times 20 is 160. 8 times 7 is 56. I would add those three products up, 800 plus 160 plus 56, and once I add it, I get 1,016. So I would have a total of 1,016 noodles. That sounds like a lot, but really when you're talking about 72 people, it's probably not that much. Oh, man, this one's kind of heavy. I actually have a gallon of water, okay? You know what I'm going to do with this gallon of water? I'm going to make Kool-Aid for all of those 72 friends that I have. Now, the Kool-Aid, I'm going to need like 6 gallons of water, and I'm trying to think, how many ounces is that going to be? Well, I know there's 128 ounces in each gallon, but I have 6 gallons, so that is simply 6 times 128. That'll help me figure out how many ounces. Now, just like before, I'm going to use the distributive property with expanded form, or using place value, to help me break this down. I'm not making this array either. 6 by 128, nope. So what I do is I break my 128 out as I would with expanded form. 128 is 100 plus 20 plus 8. And I'm multiplying that entire quantity by 6 because I have 6-gallon jugs. Alright? Now, when I get ready to multiply this, I'm going to distribute my 6 out. And I'm going to multiply the 6 by the 100. I'm going to distribute the 6 out to the 20. And I will multiply 6 by 20. And then I'm going to distribute my 6 out to this 8. And I will multiply 6 times 8. Okay? And see, look, I put it in here. So now I have my quantity. 6 times 100 plus 6 times 20 plus 6 times 8. We know 6 times 100 is simply 600. 6 times 20 is 120, and then 6 times 8 is 48. I would add those products together, these partial products, I'd add them together, and I would get the total of 768 ounces. Boys and girls, you know what's coming next. I'm giving you a few moments to go ahead and jot that information down. You can click pause on your video if I haven't given you enough time.